Hey everybody, Lorelia here, coming to you with a message. Are you fundable? Bring my keys back when you're done. Coming to you with a message. Are you fundable? Sorry for that. Okay, so what do I mean? In case you are new to my channel, my name is Lorelia. Have over 500,000 views here on this channel talking about the subject of credit. And that is what I am going to talk to you today, because I asked you the question, are you fundable? What do I mean by that? Let me just give you a little background story of what I'm currently seeing here in the industry of credit. Right now, we live in what's called the microwave society. You know, what do I mean by that? Hey, how you doing, Carl? A good question. Yes, are you fundable? I'm going to find out. We live in a microwave society, whereas people want it now. No one is willing to put in the work that is required to get the results that you need financially for yourself or your business. And so what I'm currently seeing is a very big push in the credit industry in regards to fraud. What do I mean? That's right. Talking about it, calling it out. I'm going to call it out as it is. Fraud. And the reason why it's considered fraud is that you have a segment group of people who want access to credit. We get that. They want access to credit. They want access to funding. They want access to opportunities. We get that. But we also have a segment of people who are preying on those who want that. And the end result is causing some of you not to get the funding that you need for yourself or your business. What I'm going to display to you is real life information. This is not something that you can just make up. It is not something that you can just read out of a book. It's something that is currently going on. So what do I mean by fraud? And why I'm staying away from it. I recently had about 4 occurrences within the past 2 weeks of this, and I've actually walked away from it. And so the way it goes is this: people are using a method and a strategy of saying, is not saying, but disputing credit reports. And yeah, I'm going to call it what it is. I can't even really give those individuals the title of credit professional. And the reason why is because it's fraud. And what do I mean by that? Well, basically, you have these so-called credit professionals who are doing credit disputes by saying that the person has been a victim of fraud. And when they say that the person is a victim of fraud and they make the dispute, and a lot of times it's untrue. Don't get me wrong. Can you use that as a defense if that truly is the case? Of course. But there are credit professionals who are using it and it's not the case, and they're leveraging the rules and the laws of fraud to dispute items on their credit report. And so what is happening is that you will see a credit report, at least the ones that I'm seeing, and I usually can recognize it, where it will say statement, it's usually a statement on a credit report about fraud or what have you. And usually 2 things are going to happen. First thing that's going to happen is that things are going to get removed off the credit report. Woohoo! Yes. And the second thing is that the credit score can go up. Well, Aurelia, well, what's wrong with that? I mean, it's a great strategy. I'm a consumer. I want to increase my credit score. And if I go to a professional, I don't give a hoot what he or she does. If they're able to give me that 700 or 750 credit score, I'm brand new, whatever. Brand new candy, brand new money, what have you. The flip side of it is that we live in a world of AI. What do I mean by that? Now, I'm going to tell you right now, what I'm saying is really the beginning of change in the credit industry. It's not widely talked about. Why? It's because it's new. Artificial intelligence, yes, is something that has been going around, but it's now being implemented, and it's the forefront of the financial industry, and the financial industry is off the credit industry. It's under the umbrella of the financial industry, just so you know. So what that means is that the information that I'm sharing with you is not widely talked about, because unless you are a student of this industry and you're really trying to understand it and you're really trying to be a better professional so you can provide value to others, you may not be staying abreast of what's going on. And that is why I've made so many videos about in regards to funding when it comes to your business or personal funding. And what do I mean by that? We live in an age of transparency. In the age of transparency, in the age of artificial intelligence, do you really think that financial institutions don't have a way of finding out if you are using fraud in the incorrect way to be able to improve your credit? Do you really think they don't know that? Let me share something with you, because like I said, what I'm talking about is the beginning and the cusp of a new era in the credit industry. I know you're wondering, I'm just a lady on YouTube. Mark my word, 2019, as I filmed this video, as we go on in time, you will see the credit industry change. What do I mean by that? There was a person who made a comment under a video of mine on Facebook who said that a lot of the information that I share is good, but it's old. Let me share with you the reason why people may think, and I'm one who's always said it. I'm never going to shy away from it. A lot of the strategies I talk about are basic. You're right, they're basic, but they're not fraudulent. Credit disputing still has a place if it's factual. Factual credit disputing will trump credit fraud disputing any day. And so when you have a movement of people who are using credit fraud as a method to help people increase their credit score or what have you, they will look and listen to the information that I say and say it's outdated. But I sleep very well at night knowing FTC, I'm not doing anything illegal. Everything that I've said is leveraging the laws of the federal government in a factual way, not in a non-factual or a fraudulent way, because I understand the industry, the way the industry, the financial industry is going, and that way is in regards to data matching. That's right. Your credit professionals are not talking about that. It's called data matching. So what happens is the credit professional that uses fraud as a method of having items removed put the consumer in a quagmire. Why do they put the consumer in a quagmire? Because the consumer is wondering, how is it that I have a 750 credit score or a 700 credit score or what have you, and I can't get funding? I can't get a credit card. I can't get loans. I can't get a line of credit because it's called data matching. This is the wave that the credit bureaus, financial institutions are going in regards to credit. This is their push. Remember, once upon a time, there was a time when you can really use fraud as a method of getting a mortgage. Anyone will tell you who may know somebody who went through the recession 10 years ago. If you were in the financial services industry in regards to real estate, there are some people who really understand that you can use fraud. There were people who were using fraud as a method of gaining access to real estate, mortgage loans, etc. And how was that done? That was done by altering bank statements, financial records, W-2 information, tax information. So you really don't think that the financial institutions who knew that was going on did not work on the last 10 years of ways to prevent that from happening? Like, you really think that $1 billion industry is created preying on those who are not financially astute? And now, remember what I said earlier. I said the financial industry, it hasn't quite changed. Change is coming now. But within the last 20 years, I entered this industry in the 90s. Within the last 20 years, from 98, I started my journey up until now, it ain't much changed in the credit industry. Just so you know, not much has changed. The only little change happened was maybe around 2005. We had the consumer, the CFPB came on, on the scene. Dodd-Frank may have changed some things. But the one thing that did change was the speed of information. The speed of it. See, 20 years ago, the speed of information was not as quick. Anyone who remembers back in the 90s, there was still dial-up. There was no high-speed internet. If you really wanted to learn something, you couldn't just go to your phone and just do a few swipes. You literally had to do research. You had to go to a library, you had to open a book, you had to do the research. So what's changed in 20 years? What's changed in 20 years is research. Access to information. So we have a society now who have access to information right at their fingertips. You really don't think that industries like the financial industry that makes trillions of dollars are not on the cusp of what's going on? Do you think they really have not created technology to stay ahead? Because remember, billions are made. Billions are made off of the financial ignorance of people. So now let me understand this. People just gonna send random letters leveraging the rules in the FCRA in regards to fraud and identity theft to wipe items off their credit report and just automatically go from like a 500 to 750 and now get access to funding. You really think it's going to be that easy? It's something, like I said, it's called data matching. That is why you will see Because this is what's happening. You have this big push. You have this big push where individuals are saying, because I recently had someone who was working with me and said, "Oh, I have a faster way," and I kindly asked. I'm very transparent. Yeah, there's somebody who's working with me, but they said, "I have a better way. I'm going to get some wholesale trade lines. I'm going to get a shell corp and all this other stuff." 750 credit score. The only thing a person's going to sell you now is a 700 credit score. That's easy to do. If you're wondering how they do it, because I had someone who that I personally know, who know, and I knew the person that they knew, and they came to me and said, "Well, how are people removing stuff off credit reports so fast?" You want to know how? That's what they're doing. They're using an affidavit, usually it's fraud, saying that they was a victim of fraud, and then they have the information removed. That's what they're doing. But it's leaving the person who's the consumer in a quagmire. Because what happens is, and this is what I discovered just last week, right here locally, in the state that I live in, looking to partner with a person who is going to assist some clients of mine in the industry of real estate to get access to personal funding, which will help the gap funding with hard money loans with real estate professionals I work with or what have you. And they work with, they also assist with business loans and business funding. And so that person and I, we were talking about their criteria, what have you. I also, want to find out how they work, because there's certain professionals I don't want to work with. It's easy to bamboozle people. Oh, it's going to hurt. Oh, it's starting already. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. It's already happening. So when the person, we made a verbal agreement that we would work together, and the person sent me a credit report. And as I looked at the credit report, it took me less than 5 minutes to know that someone had been using that strategy of the fraud. And like I said, it only hurts the consumer, because guess what? When you start to use that as a method of rebuilding your credit or a disputing way, the lenders will shut down any current credit cards you have. So that's what had happened. Because it's called data matching. That's how they're able to find out. See, this topic is not going to be a very popular topic to some, because unfortunately there's a segment of people that really think that there's a shortcut. Like, they don't understand that AI is the forefront of everything now. AI in the industry of financial services and credit, AI, data matching is going to really transform the way you and I get access to credit. Gone are the days where you can just do a quick fix to rebuild your credit. Now, does factual credit disputing have a place? Of course, it does have a place. Factual, not fraud. Factual, not fraud. Fraud will give you a quick fix. And that's why I said, yes, there are people who are buying trade lines, credit privacy numbers, increasing their credit score, maybe even got a little funding. But you will notice at a certain point, it comes to a halt. It's going to come to a halt. Mark my word. So that's why I asked, are you fundable? Because there's a proper way to do it. It's a proper way to rebuild your credit. And unfortunately, the factual way of doing it is not pretty. Some may even say take too long. But rest assured, you will feel real good knowing that if it's done the right way, that sky's the limit. You know, in terms of the access of funding you want, the credit lines you seek, whatever floats your boat. Because blacklisting is real. First time I encountered blacklisting was about 3 years ago in the industry of funding, business funding. A business owner came to me, discovered me here on YouTube, will not disclose the industry, was looking for business funding, took all the credentials that I needed. The person looked good on paper, made deposits, the business was fundable, credit wasn't that bad, it was in the 600s, but nothing crazy. And went to go seek to the suppliers, the funding sources that I know to get the system with getting funding. They couldn't get funded. And I remember talking to one of the professionals, which was the underwriter, and asking, well, what's going on? Because from what I'm seeing, and that's when they told me they're blacklisted. And that's when I noticed that things in the industry were changing. Back then, I didn't know the name was data matching. I didn't know that. But there were ways that the underwriter, the business underwriter, had explained to me that things that they could see in the system, where there was a pattern where the person was getting loans and funding and never paying them back. And so they was put on a list. And I know one may be saying, oh man, it's ways around that. All you got to do is create another LLC and this, that, and the other, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay. Mark my word. Mark my word, it's getting dark here. So I know the video is going to be very dark, but mark my word. So when I say, are you fundable? Recently on the community tab here on YouTube, I asked a question about helping individuals who looking to rebuild their credit, and I'm still going to stick with that is the stepping stone to business credit, depending on where you're at in your business. And I'm always going to say it, because my thing is this: we live in the age of transparency. There's nobody funding, there's no lenders funding companies or individuals who have no business income, who have not generated no business income. The business is unseasoned, and you really think you're going to get 20,000 or north of that of lines of credit. It doesn't exist. So what happens is that you're going to have to leverage your personal credit. Anyone who's telling you any different, it depends. You know, are you a business that is seasoned? Are you a business that's bringing in income? Then that's a whole totally different story. Why is that? Because there are lenders who, they're called merchant advance lenders. They lend based on the deposits that your business bring in. There are lenders who will lend to you based on your accounts receivable. And these things have always existed, but come understand, what did I say earlier in this video? What changed? The speed of information. What I'm talking about has always been around. Lenders have always lent to people based on the deposits that a merchant based on the deposits that come into a merchant business, and based on accounts receivable that the business bring in. That's always been around. But a lot of people didn't know that. So if you are someone, because I recently put it on the community tab, I also shared the information, out to my email communication list. And I said, if you're that person, let's talk. Let's talk about how to make you fundable. But who I'm not looking to work with. No, I don't do any trade lines. I don't sell no trade lines. I'm not giving no trade lines. I don't do no credit privacy numbers. I don't sell no shell corps. So what does that mean? That means that you need to be a business owner that at a minimum need to be bringing in $6,000. That's right, I said it. I'm giving a number. $6,000 in revenue income in your business, and it can be proven by your bank decision. Because what your credit professionals will not tell you, when a lending decision is made, there is a website. It's called Decision Logic. That is the website that lenders look at to be able to look at the activity in your bank account. Yes, they may ask for paper statements, but they also go into Decision Logic. And they go into that. Now, anybody who's in the funding industry, they will know about Decision Logic. And that's how they're able to go into the banking institutions that you bank with your business, and see what type of activity is being brought in on a daily basis, on a monthly basis. So who am I looking to work with? People who are at a minimum of bringing $6,000. If you are bringing in less than that and it's still something you want to talk about, it is possible. But understand, there's a different road that you may have to travel on. Because, and people don't like to hear this, but if your business isn't bringing in any income, less than $6,000, less than $3,000, $3,000 is only $36,000 a year. If your business ain't bringing in that, what business do you have? What business is it? Oh, I know, it's one of those where what people say, LLC check, logo check, but ain't bringing in no business. So once again, this is my story, and I'm sticking to it because, like I said, it's getting dark. And I don't want to do a video in the dark. The seasons are changing, so 8 o'clock, it is now dark time. But yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And if you want to learn more about talking about, are you fundable the correct way, because what you're gonna see is these tricks are for kids. A lot of these tricks that you're seeing, they're going to fade out. The same way in 2008, when I remember having clients who were getting approved for loans, buying homes, and I said, you know what, based on these numbers, you can't afford it. And none of them care. But what happened is that, a lot of them did lose their homes. They did, because they were being assisted by mortgage professionals to alter documents. And I'm seeing the same thing in the credit industry. It's a lot of fraud that's happening. And like I said, this topic is not going to be something that is popular, because unfortunately we live in a microwave society. So people truly do believe that there's a faster way. Thank you so much, Carl Johnson. I'm glad you do appreciate it. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Please like, share, leave a comment, let me know what you think. But like I said, tricks are for kids, and I said a lot of things that a lot of people don't like, but it's true. There's business I'm not interested in. And so that's why I have no problem that when I see certain credit reports and I know that fraud has been used as a method of disputing, I'm not interested. Usually I tell that person, I'm not the professional for you. And the same way, like I did when I talked about the business funding professional locally here in my local market, I said to that person, I said, is this a sample of the type of people you work with? Because if it is, we can't have this partnership. I'm very clear on who I want to work with and who I don't want to work with. There's a gazillion people, whether they're here on YouTube, here on social media, who's promising a quick fix. And unfortunately, those who will fall for the quick fix, and I'm already seeing it, eventually they will find out that they're back at the same, square one. So like I said, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. All my information will be below. And like I said, are you fundable? Okay, bye-bye.